Hey everyone, it's Scott. Indoors with the attached carry handle for any charging. The bike looks a little odd, and the first ride has a similar vibe. It cycles between childish fun and a slightly awkward feeling of riding an undersized item. At least for me, at 6 feet, the fit is less than ideal, but somehow manageable for shorter periods. If this can really go 30+ miles in the range test, it's gonna be a tough one. So in a nutshell, the DYU seems to be a great toy e-bike, plus maybe a short range or mixed commuter with a lower weight and general profile. Its mobility is definitely increased, so is it just a toy, or could it be of some use to some of the budget-minded commuters needing a smaller e-bike? Let's take a look at the pros and cons and find out a little bit more. Starting with the pros. For our first pro for the DYU, we've got the fact that it has a relatively compact size. It's definitely small, and it's relatively light at about 38 pounds. So while it's not the lightest and smallest of all the mini e-bikes that are available, this is definitely its main selling point. It will go in places that other bikes simply won't, like the boot of a car. Plus, with the attached carry handle and small size, it's able to be carried and easily moved around tighter urban spaces. It's still heavy to lift at almost 40 pounds. Right-hand brake lever operated the front brake and the left operated the rear brake, which is opposite to the general setup that we see in North America, and it made for a very confusing first stop. A definite con with such a small wheelbase, this could lead to a pretty nasty spill if you stop from that top speed of 15 miles per hour with only the front brake. So luckily these front brakes are not the most powerful in the world, but it still was quite confusing, and I don't know why they would have set this up opposite like that. So be careful when you're taking this thing out for your first ride. So with those pros and cons in mind, what does it do best? The bike uses its size to its advantage and offers a really lightweight package that is pretty easy on the wallet. If you wanted a good toy for a youth, this would probably be it. Either that or a very light duty commuter with the ability to throw in the back of a compact car if you have no access to a car rack. And who should buy this bike? The bike would probably be a good choice for budget-minded riders looking for an e-bike that will fit into small spaces other bikes would not. It's a situation where I would only really see people purchasing this bike if they needed the specific abilities that it has, like the ability to fold down and fit in the boot of a car. So what would be some of the reasons to look elsewhere? The main reason is that the bike is tiny. Larger riders will not be comfortable. I also have serious doubts about its ability to act as a commuter in any sense unless you live in a small, flat urban area and need to fit it into tight spots. Other bikes may offer better overall value, even among mini and folding bikes. The best part about this bike is probably the price tag, so buy accordingly. And let's go through this bike in detail, starting with the frame and the geometry. This bike is a little strange. With a long stem and a short standover height, it was not made for tall people. And at 6 feet, I felt pretty cramped. Even with the seat fully extended, my pedaling was uncomfortable as I struggled to get enough leg room, and I felt like I was riding a little clown bike. The long stem and tiny tires also made for a jittery steering experience in general, and the bike feels just how it looks, small and a little odd. The frame is pretty robust and compact, 38 pounds, with the built-in carry handle adding to it as an easy lift point for the bike. So that was a nice feature to see. Looking at the motor, we've got this little 250 watt motor, which is trying really hard, but with only 10 Newton meters of torque, it's only really capable of so much. On gentle terrain, the motor is helpful enough. The throttle kicks in with a slight delay and it will gradually get you to that top speed of 15 miles per hour. The pedal assist offers significantly more pep as you add to the motor with your leg power, but with only a single assist setting and a single gear to back that up, the bike is very limited. And its ability to climb hills is questionable at best. It's really only suited for flat ground, and the motor is easily the smallest and least powerful that we've ever ridden. Looking at the cockpit and the control on this unit, the cockpit and controls are very minimal. Only 2 buttons control the unit and 4 LED lights indicate on, off, and the battery level. The straight 480mm bars are easily removed with a clamp, and they have some uncomfortable integrated plastic grips which have a half-twist throttle. The generic aluminum mechanical levers and a simple bell complete the cockpit. You turn the bike on or off with a single click of the on button, and on the opposite side, a cruise control button will keep you at speed while you're moving if you press that. Long pressing this cruise control button for 3 seconds activates and deactivates the front light, and the battery is shown as 4 LED lights. Talking about that battery, we've got an integrated 10 amp hour battery that is not removable, and it's a major drawback on the bike. The battery is larger than some other mini bikes that we've tested, but with a small size motor, it makes for a longer range. But not having it be removable is a serious drawback on this unit.
Despite the fact that the battery cannot be removed, it is large. A 10 amp hour battery operating a small 250 watt motor could be considered oversized for this small bike. It was able to power the unit for over 22 miles using mainly the throttle, which is quite impressive. Now this route included only mellow grades, but the bike made it up them with only a little bit of additional pedal power included, so the range test was quite slow, taking over 2 hours to reach the 22-mile max, but still, being able to throttle yourself over 20 miles on this little bike really made it seem like a capable mini commuter. So the bike won back some serious points with its overall battery range.
Looking at the charger, battery removal, and keys, we've got a charger that plugs directly into that integrated battery low down on the unit, and it's covered with a small rubber plug, so it can be pretty tough to locate at first when the bike needs to be brought in to charge because you can't take that battery off. So you have to bring it to wherever your charging location is going to be, and it's a pretty big negative. Luckily, the bike is small enough to bring inside, but it's still a drawback as you're not going to want to leave this outside where it could get wet. There's also no key and no ability to remove the battery, which is a pretty big rarity among e-bikes, which would normally be featuring a removable battery and a key. Looking at the drivetrain, this bike only has a single speed drivetrain with a very short crankset, so it's a tough pedal at pretty much any speeds, at low speeds especially, and at high speeds it has a very uncomfortably fast cadence. It's really a single gear that doesn't climb well, so the drivetrain leaves a lot to be desired on this bike. And moving forward, when it's time to stop, you've got a basic set of mechanical brakes, which have 160mm rotors on them and mechanical calipers front and back. So the opponents really appear oversized and robust on this small unit, and they seem to stop the bike pretty quickly, but really this is a pretty small set of brakes, and with a top speed of 15 miles per hour, it's not very challenging to stop it. But it was quite confusing because we had a reversed braking setup on this where the right hand brake was actually stopping with the front brake and the left brake lever was controlling the rear brake. So it was totally the opposite of what we normally experience and was very confusing on this unit. Looking at the wheels and tires, we've got a pretty small set of 14-inch wheels with a relatively skinny 14 by 2.25 inch tire, which are really only suited to the pavement and hard packed surfaces. They really sink quickly on loose ground and are pretty sketchy at speed on anything but pavement. The small wheels are also quick to wander with only a slight movement of the bars, so I did not enjoy the small wheel size except for when I was maneuvering in a very small space. And when we look at the kickstand, it's very similar. We're sporting the standard one-sided kickstand, just miniature like the rest of the bike. It operated fine, but just in miniature form. And then if we go forward and look at the contact points here, there's not much to be said about the contact points. The plastic grips are hard and pretty uncomfortable, but they function just fine. They appear to be built in, so there's no changing these. The seat is reasonably cushioned, but it has kind of a strange sloped support. So the seat post is also still too short for my 6-foot frame, causing me some discomfort while I was pedaling. And those pedals are just some very basic plastic pedals that we've got there, but they can flip up and down, which is diminishing the overall size of the bike and streamlining that profile a bit. So I was just a tiny bit disappointed, but with everything about the DYU being pretty tiny, it was hardly a surprise. If you have a small commute and you're looking for an e-bike to match, it might make a good fit. Otherwise, the best spot for this little bike is probably as a gift for a little one in your life around you. I would have loved one of these as a kid to ride around the neighborhood, and it's definitely better than walking, but still, I have to say, the audience for this little bike may end up being pretty small itself. So if you're riding one of these, let me know in the comments what you think and what kind of commute you're doing.